Welcome back to Taste of Friendship. My name is Mrs. Tipton, and today with me I have Brooklyn and Ryder, and we are making cauliflower fried rice and fried tofu. Okay, so to start, we're gonna start with the crispy fried tofu. So Brooklyn is gonna take it over and teach y'all how to make it.
So we're gonna start with some extra firm tofu. Any works, but we're using the silken kind. So the easiest way to do it is to put it under a heavy object overnight. So we use a cast iron skillet. So Ryder, will you hand me some paper towels? So you press it overnight because you want all of the water to get out of it. So you take it out of the bag and you'll take paper towels to get it all nice and dry because you want it to actually be crispy. So you'll take it and you'll get it all nice and dry. If you leave it wet, it will still crisp up, but it won't be as crispy and you won't get that fried effect. You kind of want it to kind of be like nuggets. You can use, if you use not a silken kind, you won't need as many paper towels and you won't need to press it for as long. And if you have a tofu press, that works better, but we don't have one on hand, so using a cast iron skillet or even like a fruit can jar will work just as good. Ryder, will you hand me more paper towels? Thank you.
So Brooklyn, can you tell me why do we use tofu? What's it for?
So a lot of people have dietary restrictions, whether they're vegan, vegetarian, or they just prefer using tofu over like chicken or any other type of nugget. And so also using tofu, you get a lot of protein. And also sometimes it's cheaper and it just gives you a lot, it soaks in any flavor that you put on it. And so it gives you a lot of freedom in the kitchen. So after you have it, the dryness you want it, then you can chop it to the nugget size that you want. We're gonna do it in cubes. The smaller you do it, the less cook time it'll have. And since we're kind of doing like a double bake sort of thing, because it's gonna go in the oven and then on the flat top, it'll get super crispy. And they don't have to be perfect, obviously, because you're gonna eat it anyways. Okay, when you have them all chopped up, then you're gonna take in a bowl and you're gonna place them in. And since you're not breading them, everything that you put in this bowl with it is gonna act as a breading and is going to help crisp it up. So Ryder, if you will take the olive oil and if you'll place about a tablespoon in there, and I'll take cornstarch too. So the cornstarch is going to kind of act as a breading, and instead of using like breadcrumbs, we're using cornstarch, and that's going to really crisp it up. And you're going to take about a tablespoon of this as well. Okay.
This out of your way.
Thank you. And then you're also gonna take a little bit of soy sauce, about a tablespoon of this as well. You can use low sodium if you like. It's just depending on what you like. Because again, just on you, if you want it more healthy, just use low sodium. Also, some people just make their own. You can use bouillon cubes and that will do the same thing, just bouillon and water. Then you take it and you toss it around really well. And Ryder, will you get that baking sheet behind you? Obviously you want it quite well tossed. If you don't, you're gonna get a mouthful of cornstarch and you don't want that. So then you're just gonna take it and place it on your baking sheet. And after you're done with that, it's gonna go in the oven for 25 to 30 minutes.
It smells really good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now that you have your nuggets prepped, you'll be able to start chopping some of your other things. So, Ryder, if you'll start grating our ginger, you'll do about a knob of ginger. It's also depending on your personal preference. If you like a lot of ginger, do more than a knob. If you don't like a lot of ginger, then do less than a knob. Or if you don't like ginger at all, don't put it in. You also want to do peas, carrots, whatever you like. You can use frozen, you can use fresh, whatever you like. It's just personal preference. While Ryder's doing that, I'm going to peel our carrots. If you use frozen carrots, you obviously won't have to do that step, but finding frozen carrots right now is kind of hard, and also like doing steam bags isn't ideal. So good tip is to have another bowl that is kind of a trash bowl, so you don't have to go back and forth from the trash can. So taking a peeler and your already clean carrots, you're just going to peel as many carrots as you want. Our recipe states about 2 to 3 cups of each vegetable, but it's a personal preference, and also depending on how much tofu you prepped the night before. And also, if you want to add more veggies, you can. We just chose peas and carrots because that's kind of what we like. And also, it goes really well with, you know, ginger and garlic and green onions, and obviously the cauliflower, since we're doing cauliflower fried rice instead of normal fried rice. Which, if you don't want to make your own, you can get it from the bag as well. Okay, now that I've got this peeled, you can cut your carrots any way you'd like. Any size you'd like, but I'm just gonna do little cubes to kind of match the pea size, kind of what you would get in a package, also so they'll soften really well on the flat top.
I bet that's enough ginger.
Probably so.
Okay. You just want to throw that bulb in the, or the rest of the knob in the bowl. That one. Yeah. Okay. If you want to measure out the garlic, so we have pre-minced garlic, which is a really nice thing that speeds up your time. You can get fresh garlic and chop it yourself, but that takes more time. So Ryder, it's about a half a teaspoon per clove. So if you want to do about a teaspoon of garlic, you can. It's also your personal preference. If you really, really like garlic, add more. If you don't, add less or don't add it at all. And also, if you don't have garlic at all, but you have garlic powder, you can use that as well. It'll do the exact same thing, you just won't be able to see it in your mixture. You can add it to the bowl with your ginger if you'd like.
Awesome.
Okay, I am going to finish up the carrots. So, Ryder, if you want to walk them through kind of what the recipe says for cauliflower, I think that would be a good idea. Like why cauliflower makes rice. Like, I mean, obviously you blend it up, but what does the recipe say?
Well, the recipe says that one of the first things you want to do is to, obviously you'll probably want to cut the cauliflower up, make it into smaller pieces. But what you'll want to do is put it into a food processor, but in like little batches. And we do not have a working food processor as of now, so we are resorting to using our blender. which hopefully should do the same job just as well.
And especially at home, most people don't have a food processor, so using a blender is perfectly fine if you are going to do this recipe at home.
Can't like a NutriBullet work the same like way?
It should. Anything that you have at home that allows you to grind up or blend a vegetable or fruit super finely should do the job just as well. But you know, it can't do something of this size, so that's why we're gonna take all the leaves off of it. We're gonna turn it into little florets, and then little at a time we will blend it up and make it really fine, just like rice, and that's why it's called cauliflower rice. And that is another great substitute instead of using white rice or brown rice. It just doesn't have as much sodium and starch and things like that that a lot of people try to avoid. So cauliflower is a great alternative.
And I've seen cauliflower used in other alternatives as well. Like I've even like went to restaurants and seen like cauliflower wings as well, which seemed kind of interesting to me.
Yes. And then also a lot of people substitute cauliflower for dough as well. One of my favorite things to eat is actually cauliflower pizza. And instead of like a flour dough, it is a cauliflower dough, and it is absolutely delicious. I highly recommend you give it a try.
Ryder, if you want to take the leaves off so that we can get going in a second, that'd be great. Also, I think they do mashed potatoes as well. It just kind of has a different consistency, but it does the same thing.
What are some other vegetables do you think we could put into the cauliflower rice?
I definitely think like edamame I've seen people do a lot. I feel like people would do like some sort of bean because bean holds a lot of protein. And for vegetarians especially, like getting your protein in is quite hard. And so beans of any sort is really good. Doing like even asparagus, you could broil that and get another good crunch to it.
What about like a bell pepper? Do you have any ideas, Ryder, of other vegetables that you could put in?
Well, I think bell pepper might actually go well with it. As you said, maybe bean sprouts, maybe. Those typically go well with flavors like these. So I personally like them with a lot of my sort of Eastern foods. So I don't see why it couldn't go well with this as well.
I think definitely like having multiple options gives you variety with things like this because it's such an easy recipe that you can change it up quite often and get basically a different meal every time you make it.
Okay, let's throw a couple pieces of cauliflower in there and see what happens. Nice.
So far, so good.
So the reason we're doing just a little bit at a time is we don't want to overwhelm the blender. And you know, sometimes when you blend things and it just kind of like stalls out, the reason why we're just doing small little bits at a time is so it doesn't have that stall and we don't have to keep going back and like pushing it down and things like that. So as you'll see, this is actually a really fast alternative to using rice. I mean, it took us only 5 minutes to get it all done from start to finish. So I don't see why anybody can't do this at home, for sure, especially just using your blender. Perfect. Okay, so now that we have all of our vegetables prepped and ready to go, we are ready to move back to the flat top and get this thing going.
Hey, Linda. Hey.
What is it, boy?
What's our plan for tornado, huh? You know, the things that spin, like this.
Do you need to go out?
No, Linda, focus. I'm getting dizzy here.
Are you hungry? Do you want some food?
Food. You want to store some food? Great plan, smart human.
Your pet can't help you plan for a natural disaster, but prepare.adcouncil.org can. Click below to make a family emergency plan that includes your pet.
Okay, so now we're at the flat top. If you don't have a flat top, which most people don't at home, you can just use your stove, and a big skillet or a cast iron skillet works too. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is put your veggies on. We already use vegetable oil, so vegetable oil has a higher heat range, so that's better. So we're gonna go with our frozen peas first. Add all of those on. And then your carrots. So you obviously don't want them to burn, so you're gonna move them around quite often. So when you're doing your veggies, you want to make sure they get soft. You don't want to bite into a crunchy vegetable because we also have green onions already chopped for your garnish, and that'll give you that different texture. So in a second, after these kind of have a good texture to them, I'll have Ryder scoop the cauliflower onto this so that can kind of get crispy as well. So while this is going, also the tofu will almost be done, and at the very, very end, you'll throw your tofu in the mix to kind of give it that final fry. The good thing about a flat top is that if you do it correctly, all of your heat will be even, and so you don't have to worry about hot spots like you do in a pan. Okay, Ryder, do you want to go ahead and grab the blender with the rice?
Sure. I think we got it just right here.
Okay, so just over top of it, you can just throw the rice onto it. We have an extra spatula to help get the rice onto the flat top because it's quite sticky.
You want me to put it on the vegetables? Or
Yeah, just anywhere.
I will say I'm impressed by how it looks, because it does look pretty ricey.
You definitely want a good proportion of your vegetables to your rice so that you don't have too much of either one of them. And then also the good thing about rice is that the seasonings are completely up to you. So we have some sesame oil and some sriracha, and that's completely up to you if you want to use them and the amounts you want to use, just depending on the spice level you want, and also just the flavor profile you want to use as well. So Ryder, if you want to grab the toasted sesame oil and the sriracha, You just use a little bit and a splash of both, and then you'll mix it into your rice. And you want it to soak into both of them really well.
Here's, let's put this down here. Here's the sriracha. All right.
Just a good squeeze of it.
Oh. Come on. Here's the toasted sesame oil.
Perfect. And then also if you want to grab your ginger and the garlic and add that in as well. Those don't have to cook anywhere near as long, so those kind of go in at the end.
There we go.
Perfect. And then when you get that all well combined, we'll make a well in the center of your rice, and then we'll scramble the eggs. So we use 3. It's up to you how many you use, but 3 is a good number. We'll start off with 2 and see kind of how it does, but also eggs cook down quite a bit. So you'll want to keep that in mind as well. Okay, Ryder, if you want to go ahead and grab the eggs, we'll make a little well in the center. You want to kind of have rice at the bottom, not a lot, but just a little bit to where your eggs don't burn on the flat top. Okay, Ryder, and if you want to crack it just in the middle of that.
There we go. And I believe you said we were starting off with 2, right?
Yes. Okay, and then you'll work it around in the middle to kind of scramble it first before you work it into the whole mixture. Because you kind of want to get it to pre-cook a little bit before you work it into the whole mixture. I say let's go ahead and throw in that last egg, Ryder.
Alright.
An egg is also a really good source of protein, and it will really make this whole dish a lot more filling. Okay, Ryder, if you want to take over kind of like mixing it around till the eggs cook.
Alright.
Okay, and then since the eggs are almost done, I'll go ahead and get Ryder to take the tofu and pop that in as well. You can see that they're kind of already crispy, but you want them to be crispy on the inside as well. So just re-putting them in makes it get really, really crispy. This one. Perfect.
Tofu down there. Don't do that.
Well, this absolutely looks great. I think we are done and we can go ahead and put it in our bowl to take it back up front.
Awesome.
So we are back up front. We just finished the flat top grill and Ryder is gonna show us how we can plate this cauliflower fried rice with some crispy tofu. So an easy way is just to scoop it into a bowl, and then he is going to do some sriracha sauce on top and garnish it with some green onions, and it will look absolutely beautiful.
As long as the sriracha bottle doesn't work against me like it did back there. Let's get a little bit more tofu.
Yep. So if you make this at home and you're not a fan of tofu, but you're making it for your family, you know, it's your choice if you want to put it in your bowl or not. We are definitely going to get as much tofu as we can.
But even if you're not that big a fan of tofu, there's nothing stopping you from using any sort of white meat like chicken, maybe.
Absolutely. Shrimp.
Yeah.
You could even use shrimp. Okay, I think that's plenty. Yes, for sure.
All right. Okay. There we go.
Good night.
Sure want to spread the green onions around.
Okay, well, this is what the final product looks like. Thank you so much for joining us on Taste of Friendship. Today with me, once again, I had Brooklyn and Ryder, and they did absolutely an awesome job making our cauliflower fried tofu. Thanks, see y'all next time.